From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
At the top of the show, there's a very important disclaimer that we need to put here at the very, very front. This is a ghoulish, grisly episode. And this is an episode, sadly, is going to be something that many of our US-based conspiracy realists have personally encountered, perhaps without knowing that they have encountered this. So it's important, but be warned, if visceral descriptions are not your thing, this might not be the one for you. We talked about organ donation.
As in descriptions of viscera, right? Not just like very detailed descriptions.
Oh, well, both.
Yeah.
We've talked about organ donation in the past. And, when done with consent, informed consent, when done with high standards of safety, donating your organs is one of the most noble acts you as an individual can do for literally anyone. You're sacrificing part of yourself to give someone else, often a stranger, a new lease on life, or to allow them to live some kind of life at all. People can also, upon their death, donate their bodies to science. And the hope here would be that this posthumous sacrifice, because it's still a sacrifice, will further research in any number of fields, ultimately, in theory, making the world overall a better place. Unfortunately, as we found to our great sorrow, this does not always work out the way we would collectively hope. Here are the facts. I mean, we have to talk about donating your body to science. Have you guys ever thought about this, or do you have any family member who ever considered this?
Yeah, we mentioned it not long ago when we covered the heads that were stolen from that truck back in the day. And I have no personal connection to body donation, at least in the way we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, it was interesting to kind of go through the distinction, right, of being an organ donor versus donating your body to science. And we'll get into some of the minutia of those differences. But that was kind of my first exposure to the fact that those two things are not the same.
Yeah, they're very much not the same. And this is actually, as a guy who tried to donate one of his eyes while alive and ran into complications, donating your body to science, it's a noble thing, but unfortunately, even on my end, it's something that I would be very cautious about. Here's why. First, let's tell you how the process is supposed to work. Generally, it goes like this. You make the decision while you are still alive. For some people, this is simply a matter of their personal philosophy or beliefs. For some people, it's maybe they have a terminal condition and they think science may be able to help other people with my condition if I donate my body to the cause. So you figure out where you want your body to go. There are a lot of places. There's not one single, donate your body here outfit. Most of them are going to be university associated medical schools. Some are private industries, or organizations rather, and then some are government agencies. And it's kind of an audition process, which might surprise a lot of us. You have to fill out a donor consent form well ahead of time. And it's it's so very important to be on the same page with your loved ones. You have to make sure that they know about your decision. It needs to be written into your will. You should have a will. And it's also possible for your family to just decide to donate your body when you die, whether or not you've talked about it, for a number of reasons, some of which are quite tragic. So if you don't want that, make sure to stay on good terms with them. Leave on a good note if you can.
What, they would donate your body to science out of spite?
No, as we learned from a Reuters investigation, it's often because people don't have enough money, even to afford a basic cremation. And we're going to get into it, but one of the most likely reasons that a body would be donated is because there's not money available for a funeral service or burial or cremation.
In the US, for sure. Yeah, so let's say you've decided this, your family's on the same page, and they want to help you, in theory, be part of the greater good. So there'll be an organization, or hopefully a nonprofit, that will screen potential donors while they're still alive. This is a thorough medical exam, and it includes, a little bit of your past medical history, questions about illnesses, surgeries you may have had, any IV drug use, communicable diseases. Let's say you set that up and you pass that test, and they say, okay, you will qualify for this. You go on, you live your life to the fullest possible extent until you expire. But when you die, there's a second test. That chosen institution is going to now, for the second time, determine if they'll accept your body. And that's right. Not everyone gets accepted, because these institutions, when they agree in that screening while you're alive, they're still not legally required to take the cadaver if it doesn't meet those standards. And those standards aren't things like age or ethnicity or genetic information. They're mainly things that could be a health risk to people who will be working with that human tissue later. Like, you're probably not going to get accepted for a science tissue donation if you have HIV, some kinds of hepatitis, syphilis, kidney failure's bad, viral infections that result in isolation, that kind of stuff. And if you were very, very overweight, or in some cases very, very underweight, then you may also not fit the bill. And that's where we run into one of the first problems. Because let's say we've all agreed, right? We're the average American family, which means that a funeral expense is going to be a terribly hard bill to pay at one of the most vulnerable times of our lives. But what if the body of our loved one gets declined? We have to make sure we have back pocket arrangements. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves stranded with a dead body on our hands and no real plan for what to do with it next. So that's the first pitfall, but let's stay positive for a second. Let's say your body is accepted.
Okay, so if your body is accepted by the institution of your choice, that group then covers the costs, because this is of value to them, clearly. And that includes transportation, filing of the death certificate, the cremation after use, and the return of the cremains. Some groups, in fact, go a step further and require that you arrange delivery of the body to them, especially if it's in another state. And there is, in fact, an entire industry built around the transportation of bodies. So what next? Once your body is in the particular institution's facilities, they use your remains to further whatever research or mission they're focused on. And that's going to be a big driving factor, for the most part, in the individual's choice to donate their body to said institution. Like you said, Ben, maybe they have a particular condition they think using their body for research could help. Maybe it's someone who's an alumni of said institution, or it's somebody who, was a professor there, or they just believe in the cause of that particular institution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this gives you a little bit of visibility on what will happen to the body. But here's another sticky wicket. Most places will not let you donate your body for a specific purpose. As a matter of fact, the vast majority will not allow you to do so. You can go maybe to a medical outfit that is doing Alzheimer's research, for example, and you can say, I'll donate this body to this organization because my loved one had Alzheimer's. And then you have a pretty good guess that they're going to use this body in Alzheimer's research. But these places will never guarantee that. They want to be able to use that body as needed. And that body needs to come with all of its organs, meaning these two activities are mutually exclusive. You cannot donate your body to science and participate in an organ donor program. Other groups like Science Care, which we'll talk about a bit further in today's episode, do allow both organ donation and whole body donation. Important note, the companies do not pay the families involved. Hear that closely. They do not pay the families involved, because that would be illegal, not to mention, in my opinion, a bit ghoulish, and probably cause a lot of problems, especially in places with skyrocketing inequality.
Absolutely. And it seems to go hand in hand with the idea of, you may donate your body to an institution where their primary focus of research is something that you personally believe in, but it would be logistically a nightmare to say, okay, we guarantee this donation will be used for this, because it just doesn't really make sense if they need it for something else. And then all of a sudden you have angry family members on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
That just,
Yeah.
Well, it's important to think about many body broker companies, especially the private companies, as a middle organization between, like literally a broker between someone or some other organization that needs bodies or body parts for some reason and the actual people donating their bodies or their families' bodies.
Right. And the body brokers are the crazy part of this episode, which we'll get to in just a moment. Let's paint the context here.
And just to be clear, we're talking about, these are institutions that do this, that are accredited, that are like the good. We were talking about the good guys, the positive way for this to happen.
Yeah, the John Hopkins, like the Yale School of Medicine, stuff like that. Or maybe even some pharmaceutical companies who are working on R&D or funding research. And at times there's a lot of overlap. At this point, you're wondering, okay, guys, I get it. How often does this actually happen? Well, here's the problem. And I want to shout out some great work at Reuters, some great work at some other things that I was researching this. We have put a lot of time into looking into this. And I don't know about you, Matt. I don't know about you, Noel, but I was unable to find a real accurate statistic on how frequently this occurs in the, even when I qualified it. I was able to find one thanks to Reuters, which we'll get to in a second, but humanity is collectively not sure how often this happens every year, much less how often it's happened in total. No really accurate statistics exist because there is no central regulatory body tracking these, what are called anatomical gifts. That's another euphemism you'll run into. You'll find some experts estimating that medical schools collectively get about 10,000 to 15,000 bodies donated per year. But that doesn't count all the additional bodies going to private entities, to corporations, and again, to government agencies. There was a number back in 2009 from an article written by a professor at Harvard Business School who said the number of bodies donated in the U.S. to all groups totaled about 20,000. That sounds like a lot. It's still not enough. Multiple institutions continually report an ongoing need for more corpses. And this has led to serious problems. As we speak today, they're ongoing and they're crucial concerns. When it comes to this grisly, yet perhaps paradoxically important practice, we found that there is definitely some stuff they don't want you to know. What are we talking about? We'll tell you after a word from our sponsors.